following contest is an extreme rules match. Making his way to the ring from Brooklyn, New York, Torres. Approaching the ring from Detroit, Michigan, the Beast.
For our third match here tonight, we have Tazz versus Rhyno. In this match, as part of the P-Rule to the Fuck the World title, as you can see those FTW letters on the arms of Tazz. He is one of the two sole owners of the FTW title. Now, the other member, Sabu, one of the two tag team champions, will be entered into the Ultimate Royal Rumble at the end of our Superbrawl pay-per-view, in which the 18 other competitors that have been able to qualify through the 6-man tag matches will actually fight each other for the FTW title. Now, both of these men, outside of being great individual wrestlers, have actually had ties to the two men in our main event here tonight. Our main event is Jake Roberts challenging D'Von Dudley for the ECW World Heavyweight title. D'Von Dudley, the current world champion, was actually eliminated by Rhyno in the initial Royal Rumble. Now, Tazz was one of the few men eliminated by Jake Roberts in that Royal Rumble. He actually eliminated Bam Bam Bigelow and what was the final four in that Royal Rumble match. As we see Tazz and Rhyno squaring off against each other a bit at the beginnings of this match. Rhyno was eliminated from the Royal Rumble after eliminating D'Von Dudley. He was eliminated by Cactus Jack, who was able to qualify for the Hardcore title match we saw last Sunday at Hardcore Justice. Cactus Jack was unable to win the title, unfortunately, as the British Bulldog ran quite quickly up that ladder and was able to grab the Hardcore title in a very fast match. It's very unfortunate for a main event of a pay-per-view, as we see Ryback getting put up on the top rope by Tazz, the suplex machine, as he might go for a giant superplex off the top rope. That's what he's going to do, as he puts Rhyno right into the middle of that ring with that giant superplex. As now Tazz grabbing at the head of Rhyno. Rhyno has been a great wrestler many times. He has wrestled in the ECW brand of WWE, ECW, and WWE as a normal wrestler. As we get a great spine buster from Rhyno, and now attacking the leg of Tazz, trying to take out the strength of that base from Tazz. Tazz is now an announcer for TNA, and has been doing that job for quite some time now, but is a great wrestler and a great suplex machine. As we see him now grab at Rhyno and hit his leg against his own. Both of these men have a very joint name, as they are both named after animals to a certain extent. Tazz, a Tasmanian devil, Rhyno, and Rhinoceros. As now Rhyno grabs the head of Tazz. Tazz able to counter into a great arm drag takedown, taking Rhyno to the mat. able to grab Rhyno once again. Rhyno pushing away Tazz. This is a great series of counters into a reverse neckbreaker from Rhyno. Getting Tazz into the mat as we get a running DDT from Tazz to Rhyno. Rhyno now on the mat. Tazz looking for something special to do as he runs Rhyno across the ring. I was expecting him to throw him on the outside, but that's not what he did in this matchup. This match should be Extreme Rules. They should be able to go out to the ring and grab weapons if they so choose. But many times in an Extreme Rules match, they will fight and wrestle for a little bit of time at the very least. Six-man tag matches we've had tonight, unfortunately, cannot be Extreme Rules. It has been deemed from the roster as a joint whole. They do not have Extreme Rules six-man tag matches, as we see Tazz hit Rhyno away, and now try and weaken that leg of Rhyno, reduce that speed a little bit of that gore. That great spear from Rhyno will take the wind out of any man, as we see Tazz grabbing at the back of Rhyno, but Rhyno able to counter and push Tazz away for that great shoulder check into Tazz. As we get Tazz now on the ground, Rhyno able to pick him up, grab the head, and he's going to whip Tazz around as we get a great suplex, scoop slam rather, from Rhyno, using the momentum he's made Tazz do against him, as Rhyno, who gets a good punch to the gut, we get another counter. So we get a nice punch to the jaw. Series of counters between these two wrestlers. As you see him pick up Rhyno once again, trying to weaken that knee some more. See Rhyno now countering that pickup, getting a hip toss, using the momentum against him once again. Tazz and Rhyno with a great amount of counters, great amount of defense, where both of these men are also very much about offense. Tazz with his Tazz mission might look to make Rhyno submit in this matchup, as Rhyno now goes to the outside. He's going straight for our announce table as he strips the top off of our announce table. It has been stripped off already tonight. We try and rebuild it after every match, as we see Rhyno and Tazz now on the outside. And now it is no count out, false count anywhere match, as this is Extreme Rules. We get Tazz and Rhyno now fighting on the outside, jockeying for a position. You see Tazz grab that crutch from the ring and able to attack Rhyno before he's able to get a weapon. Tazz almost hitting the referee here. Now actually going back to Rhyno. Rhyno able to roll out of the way of that crutch, but getting hit once again, and now hit while he's on the ground here. Now sending that crutch flying is Tazz, as Rhyno now grabs the back of Tazz. A series of counters once again, as they counter each other. Once again, great fundamental wrestling here between Rhyno and Tazz. You see Rhyno get out of that with just a giant shoulder check to Tazz as he grabs the title belt from one of the fans here. With a couple of tribal tattoos and a great sleeveless t-shirt. As we get Tazz now grabbing a mop from underneath the ring. That mop getting taken away by Rhyno. Rhyno now having that mop, and now he's going to use it against Tazz's head. Using it once again against Tazz. Tazz able to counter with that big elbow, but getting a shoulder checked once again from the big man Rhyno. Rhyno going to pick up the pace here in this match with a great DDT to that lightly padded concrete. This match is getting hardcore, and that's the way we want it here in ECW. We want hardcore matches for these hardcore wrestlers and hardcore fans, as we get a lesson leg sweep by Tazz to Rhyno, as Tazz now picks up that mop and he goes to attack Rhyno. A reverse elbow to the face of Rhyno, and Rhyno gets a nice DDT to his face. Now Tazz going to the underneath the ring for a chair, as Rhyno looks to the crowd, looks for a weapon. He sees that mop that went flying, but he's able to grab that chair from Tazz instead of getting a weapon of his own. But Tazz able to kick the leg of Rhyno and take that chair out of his hands. Taz going underneath that same piece of the ring already. He's already got in a chair, a mop. What else can he get from underneath there? He's able to find a giant steel ladder from under there as he attacked Rhyno. Rhyno able to grab that ladder away from Taz. And is able to use it himself. But Taz seals it away once again. As these fans hoping that their weapon gets used either on or by their favorite wrestlers here in ECW. As we get a series of ladder shots from Taz to Rhyno. Fans allowed to bring their own weapons here for their favorite wrestlers to use in this match as Rhyno now gets control of the ladder, but Taz steals it right back with a series of counters between these two men, and Rhyno gets the ladder to the face once again and landing his head on that title belt as he falls down. And now Taz going for a kendo stick from underneath the ring, but Rhyno able to counter, but Taz getting a nice choke on him, trying to choke out Rhyno here on the outside here. It looks like Rhyno was able to get out of that. Yes, he's lifting up Taz, able to throw him over. Taz had that cinched in, but the strength of Rhyno, he was able to get enough air in his lungs to get out of that predicament. And we have Rhyno now kicking the head of Taz, getting him back into that ring as Rhyno now brings the ladder into the ring. Taz going back into that ring as well. And we get Taz grabbing the head of Rhyno now. Rhyno, again, series of counters between these two great wrestlers. As we get a nice standing suplex by Rhyno. I believe he was aiming for the ladder there, but he didn't quite hit it. As now he picks up the arm of Taz and tries to injure it, try and weaken that Taz mission maneuver. As Rhyno now stalks his prey. He's going to put a nice move onto Taz, doing that Russian leg sweep into the ladder, banging the head and the back of Taz against that unforgiving steel of that ladder. As Rhyno sending that ladder outside of the ring now. As you see Taz and Rhyno fighting against each other. As we get a headlock there. There's a nice suplex from Rhyno to Taz. These men both great suplex machines here. Taz known very well for his suplexing. And Rhyno with a great amount of strength. Very good at his job. As we see Taz now grab a giant table from underneath that ring as it gets stolen away from Rhyno. As Taz tries and steals it back from Rhyno now. As we get it handed it back and forth between these two competitors. That fan is like saying, hey, use the guitar I'm trying to give you. As Taz gets hit with that table and gets hit once again by Rhyno. Rhyno attacking repeatedly. Taz now punches Rhyno and goes for a quick pin here. 1, 2. Rhyno able to kick out quite quickly from that. Taz, the kick to the gut of Rhyno, sends Rhyno running as he tries and grabs that table and attacks Rhyno with it, but Rhyno able to grab it away from Rhyno once again. Rhyno able to grab it away from Taz. Taz actually grabbing it back from Rhyno now as they go closer to our announce table here. We have to be careful and try not to get hit here as we get these table going back and forth between Rhyno and Taz. They've been exchanging it back and forth now. As we wait, Taz looks for something else to use. The fans don't have anything for him in this corner. Rhyno looking around once again, but doesn't see anything, decides to steal the table away from Taz. Taz looks away once again and counters back. These two men thinking of grabbing other weapons, but keep on repeatedly running back to try and steal that table and use that table against their opponent. Taz now has control over the table and tries to attack Rhyno. Rhyno now grabs it away from him. And Rhyno has got to try and use that table quickly. Just try and use it right now before they try and steal it away once again. Repeatedly, this table has now been turned back between owners a dozen or 2 times in this corner of this ring. If they've got to move on to doing something else in this match, just turning the back, yeah, finally, Tazz able to smash that table against the head of Rhyno, and he sets it up right in front of Rhyno. And now Tazz, very winded after running so much, rolls back into the ring. We have a setup table. We have a ladder set up on the outside. As Tazz slowly moves back to the inside. Those shoulder attacks and those suplexes have taken a toll on his back and his gut. As Rhyno grabs the steel ladder and Tazz grabs the steel chair. Tazz able to win out using that steel chair quite quickly, hitting the head and the gut of Rhyno. Rhyno rolls out of the way of that one and now steals the chair away from Tazz. And now Tazz goes for that mop but gets hit in the back by that chair. The chair got busted open, busted apart over the back of Tazz. And now they're going towards the ramp here. The unforgiving steel ramp is a lot more dangerous than the lightly padded concrete we have here outside of the ring, as we get a series of strikes against Rhyno from that mop of Tazz. Rhyno able to counter to the elbow to the face of Tazz. A series of punches now going to send Tazz straight into the middle of that ring. And Rhyno choosing the ladder as his weapon. He's going to use that, try and use that against Tazz. Setting it up in the corner, perhaps, somewhat, as we have Rhyno grabbing Tazz. And a series of counters once again between these two wrestlers. As we get Tazz now grabbing at the head of Rhyno. A scoop slam by Tazz to Rhyno, putting him flat in the middle of the ring. Tazz runs around, now grabs the head of Rhyno once again, looking for a nice move, but a running neckbreaker from Rhyno. Tazz, I think he might have hit the ladder a bit, injuring himself in that process, but an elbow to the face to Rhyno, and a punch countered by Rhyno, as we get a great suplex, standing, stalling Rhyno, slamming Tazz right into the mat once again. And now he picks up Rhyno as he gets a great DDT to Tazz. Two high impact move from Rhyno right after another. And now he goes for a submission maneuver onto Tazz. A camel clutch onto Tazz. Will the submission expert Tazz tap out to this maneuver? Will he be able to get to the ropes? But he counters Rhyno and sends him to the other side of the ring. Able to get out of that predicament. Grabbing the ropes wouldn't have done anything for him. It is a no disqualification match. As we have Tazz now grabbing Rhyno with that elbow to the throat. And now picking up Rhyno. He's got it in a headlock. Now smacking that elbow against the head of Rhyno once again. Series of elbows from Tazz, going for a pin now. 1, 2. Only one count from Tazz. Rhyno able to kick out of that after those series of moves. Ladder actually blocking our camera a bit. I'm not sure what move that was, as we get a nice takedown from Rhyno off Tazz trying to pick him up. As we get another high impact DDT busted open the head of Tazz, as we get Rhyno now going for a pin now. 1, only a 1 count. Tazz still has enough energy left in him, but countered by Rhyno as we get a nice suplex. Will he go into the ladder? No, he goes straight down, slamming him right into the mat as Rhyno goes for a pin now. 1, 2, 3. Rhyno wins this matchup.